All right, so, good Lord, just got dressed and you'd never know it. I'm Beck Lane. This is Catalyst and Company, where we're catalysts in each other's lives as well as our own, and we work at being the artists we've always wanted to be. And last night, well, first of all, I came home last night and the mural surface I had set up was falling down, and this morning the little Frida sketch that I started again for mural design, once again it's on the floor. This happens periodically. I have a couple of layers of plastic that are held up with duct tape so I protect my landlord's wall. And then over the top of that, I've been using poly paper, which we've talked about, poly paper drop cloth. So it's paper applied to a very thin layer of plastic. It's malleable. The two combined, well, the paper mainly absorbs a gesso or a latex. Not completely, but it holds it so I can work in aerosols and acrylics over the top in developing a mural design. But sometimes the duct tape layers underneath get a little, or the plastic being held up with the duct tape get a little tired and fall down, and that's what happened this morning. But it's okay because I have a few other things I need to do this morning. Last night I received my first fellowship. And a fellowship is when you are recognized. You are recognized and validated by, hopefully by your peers, or at least people who are artists, group of a board of people or committee who are artists, and they help you monetarily. They help you. That's the base part of it. And that's the part I thought I wanted most of all when I applied for it. And when I applied, I was basically like, meh, I never win anything. So, and I said this in my application, like, no one ever accepts me. No one sees my work. So I'm just going to throw spaghetti at the wall and tell you the 800 projects I have going on. I said to them, I have 50 projects going on with 50 people all the time. So I'm like, meh, blah. You know, I never win. So I'm just going to do this. And we emailed back and forth. The board chair and I had emailed back and forth because I kept filling out, oh, my nose, sections of my application wrong. So over time, I started just signing them, your problem child, Beck Lane. And it's funny because when I was at the award ceremony last night, she said, problem child. And it was cracked me up because I felt so heard and seen. I felt, recognized as a person, as an individual, instead of a body that needs to fit in another box, in somebody else's box or idea of who I should be. And that's the residual effect that I woke up with this morning. I left there last night, and it's funny because when I'm at openings and things, I'm just like, okay, do this, get through the night, blah, blah, blah. But last night, something in me shifted. Utterly and completely shifted. And it's something I never expected. I've expected the whole rest of my life to be doing this one like I have for decades. Just when people tell you, have been telling me, you're too much this, you're too little that, you should be this, you should do that, you shouldn't do what you're doing. Okay. Nobody buys portraits of black people. You should be painting white people. Literally, people have said this to me over and over again, that type of thing. All the negative stuff that I've talked about. But the shift in this, I'm standing in John Sims' studio. And John Sims was a mathematician, an artist, a musician, a social justice activist, a writer. He was brilliant. He was absolutely brilliant, and unfortunately we never met. But the Halo Art Project Awards were held in his studio last night. He passed away last year. When I got out of the hospital last year, I almost died. When I got out of the hospital, I was at home really struggling, emotionally, mentally, as well as physically. You know, thinking, why am I still here? This is just such a waste of time and money and a life. John passed away in that same time period. And it was crushing to a lot of people. But I never met him. And I've been planning murals, at least one mural based on his work that I'm trying to find a building for in this stupid town. And that's been frustrating, but there I am, I'm standing in his studio, and I'm looking at his things and the layout and his books, and I'm like, why didn't we meet? We had so much in common. And I've talked to friends of his who are, you know, now I'm a little bit of part of that circle. And everybody says, you guys would have gotten along, you guys would have been friends. So I'm standing in his studio amongst a very, very tiny handful of people because we weren't allowed to invite many guests. It's not a big studio. It's probably about the size of what I'm in now, so they couldn't fit a lot of people. But I'm standing there, and I'm looking around, and there are people there, and there are artists there who have won. And I'm just like, yep, yeah, it's a thing. It's a little bitty thing. Then I realized there were two people that had donated, and they were there because they feel strongly about the arts. And a very specific type of artist. And I look across the room, and there's my new friend Gail, a highly regarded portrait artist, pretty famous. And then there's Jackie, the board chair, and her husband, second chair. And they started calling out the names and handing out the fellowship checks, the money. And as I heard my name, and as I'm walking up and I put my hand out and touched the check, I could feel it. I could feel the wash of not just acceptance, but validation for what I do. Validation. I don't care what most people think. I really don't. I really don't. Because most people want to just fix you into being somebody else, something else, more like them, more like their version of you. But I touched that envelope with my name on it, and I looked in Jackie's eyes. And I felt like a world had opened up. A world I heard existed and I knew existed, but I didn't have access to. And all of a sudden, my shoulders dropped. Granted, this isn't a Fulbright. You know, this isn't a MacArthur Genius Award. But the relief to have people, artists and people who strongly believe in real art, awarding you, granting you, validating you in a city that doesn't care about, calls itself an art city, but doesn't really care about art. It's a relief. It's just a relief. And I hope you get to experience it one day. But this award, I'll tell you, this award was designed for people just like me. Designed for people who have not just their own vision, but their own way of doing pretty much everything. And it usually goes against the grain. And we're not doing it because, you know, we want to, the world, sort of. It's because we can't. We just can't follow the constructs that other people have set up. We at our core, we are being driven in another direction. And we can't wake up and say, today I'm going to wear Jimmy Choo shoes because everybody else is wearing them. We go, no, they're uncomfortable and I don't like high heels, so I'm not doing that. You know, we don't wake up and decide. We can't wake up and decide everybody else is painting landscapes in rainbow colors. I'm literally thinking, you know, looking out the window, thinking about what tons of other artists are doing. I can't paint palm trees in rainbow colors and throw glitter on top. I can't do it. It makes me physically ill to think about doing something like that. This award was designed for, and I quote, real artists. But it was also designed for artists that, at their core, are social activists, which I never thought of myself as, but apparently I am. People who are driven by the need for equality, equity, fairness. There's a lot that they have in their mission statement that I came to realize, oh, that's me. Oh, that's me. It's like learning, oh, I'm neurodivergent. You know, I fit all those things. And no, everybody was telling me I shouldn't be like this and I shouldn't be like that, when there's other people out there who are neurodivergent. It's that type of thing. Oh, I'm covered with polka dots, and I'm being told to cover up the polka dots, you know, but I can't cover up the polka dots because they're part of me. It's that type of thing. So there's this organization is dedicated to supporting real artists who have other goals other than doing art fairs. And I probably shouldn't mention this, but I bumped into an artist who I just don't like because he's rude and cruel. He's yelled at me in public when I'm going, what happened? I don't even know what happened, sir. He has a history of doing that, though, with people. And last night he was kind of throwing a temper tantrum that he didn't get this award. But what he had done was turned away from his core in his hubris and brilliant, his brilliance and, his strutting around town all the time. He turned away from his core and started doing art fairs. And they went, let's not someone who takes art seriously or their art as seriously. I'm sorry if you do art fairs. There's another way of thinking about things. And I happen to be in that camp. I mean, I've done commercial work. I've done a bunch of different things to earn a buck, which is really hard in the arts. ridiculously hard. It shouldn't be this difficult all the time. But he turned away from his core. I think that's the thing, is he turned away from his core. He turned from his core. And went, and started painting specifically for art fairs. And he's very proud about it. He's posting online. And he's very proud that he selling X amount of dollars in a tent. And that's great for some people. For me, I can't do it. I just cannot do it. My dignity, my respect for the portraits and figures I'm painting, those people that I paint, is everything to me. And being respected for what I do or what I'm trying to do is everything to me. I don't care if you don't like it. I don't care. I really don't care. But having someone acknowledge my figures and my portraits, where it's shifted this other fellow away, his core, his reason for being has now shifted to this other thing. My reason for being hasn't swayed much at all. In fact, I dig my heels in when people say, you shouldn't, you should do this, you should do that, you should add gold to your paintings, and I'll put them in my furniture store, which has been said to me several times. If you painted superheroes on paint cans, that ended a friendship, apparently. But if you painted Marvel, this suggestion ended a friendship, apparently. Something I valued, but wasn't worth respecting me enough to not do this. If you paint Marvel characters on paint cans, like my favorite doctor in Ohio or wherever does on TikTok, it's those suggestions, they drove me nuts. It's like, don't you see me? Don't you see me? Don't you see me? Don't you see the value of what I do? Don't you see the value of my portrait and figure work? Don't you see the people I've been painting? Because that's part of the point, is seeing those people. Seeing those people who have been erased from their communities and history. And especially in this point in time where I'm in Florida and we're being told, oh, they don't matter. Nobody who isn't white, male, and rich matters. In seeing them, you're seeing me. And then in seeing them and seeing the world, in seeing them and seeing me, you're also seeing the other layers to the work I do. So this morning, I hope you get to experience this. I feel like a whole different person. Not more confident. I've always had confidence, believe it or not. It's strength. I feel like William Wallace. This is the purpose. This is the mission, and we are not going to stop until we achieve what we plan to achieve on this battlefield. And I feel like finally I have started an army, although I know I'm running long again. Although I have had hundreds, and if not thousands, of people from around the world write me in support of the work and being very kind. And I have collectors. I have people who have invested in me and just been like, dude, I know you're not eating, or I know you need paint. Here. I've had a lot of support that way. It's an entire, not to be dismissive of any of that, not to take away from any of that support in any way. It is just a different feeling when a committee of your peers says you are doing the right thing. You are absolutely doing the right thing, and stick with it. you have the right tone, the right tenor, the right attitude, the right words, sometimes the right everything, the right drive. The right drive for you, I guess is the point. And we want you. We want you. The world is a different place when that happens. And one more thing, I was driving there with my sister last night. She picked me up, and I'm doing my usual cartoon routine and chit-chatting about stuff and making jokes. And she said, I know you've hated Sarasota. You haven't been happy here. And I said, no, I really hated it. I really hate it. It's a cultural vacuum with no real intent. It's difficult to live in a city that has no actual intent other than selling $5 million condos. It's hollow. It's hollow, and it's heartbreaking. Especially in a city that calls itself an art city when it's not, except for now these people. So, oh God, I had it and then it went. Oh my God, I had a great thought and then I forgot. It had something to do with something, and so I guess I'll have to watch this video, and then I'll remember, and I'll write it down. Jam! It was brilliant too. I had a brilliant thought, and now it's gone. So I'm going to show you. We're going to skip that. I'll talk about it in another video. God, I wish I could remember. It was brilliant. But I got to go to the bank anyway because I've got to get this little train moving. I've been planning for this award for years. Oh, I know what it was. So I said, yeah, we were talking about Sarasota, and I said, I've been here 7 years, and I've hated 6 of it to the point I didn't even care if I was alive anymore. And I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm being honest to God truthful. Several times I just didn't even care I was alive anymore. I felt like I was Tom Hanks stuck on an island and nobody cared. And I had tried swimming, like Tom Hanks, we're still in that analogy, swimming and swimming to get to some type of civilization, and just kept getting washed back to the island. That's how I felt living here. Last year it cracked open though, and I did 30 some odd events and shows. I did a couple solo shows. I got another one coming up. Like Stephanie Gray with Gray Productions said, let me put you here, let me put you there. And that opened the door for me. And that gave me strength. And then here we are. So for the past year, I've been, active and still trying to bang down doors and get like, hi, can we now start climbing upwards? And here we are. I've now got a fellowship. I have guidance and mentorship. I have people that are like, come on, we're going to help get you up that ladder. And it starts with an artist residency, which we're applying for. I'm applying for several. So I want to share with you before we go, another 30 minutes you've wasted with me. I'm going to show you my gigantic award. It's very impressive. Hold on to your hat. It's a very tiny little pin that I will wear with pride. And to help lift my heart. because that tiny little pin just changed my life. I'm going to wear it to remind myself, you do Beck Lane, you do have a place in this world. Ciao.